Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in. I got tired of buying the D batteries for the baby swing, so I decided to set out on a little adventure today and see if I couldn't convert this thing over from battery power to wall power. I did kind of stumble through the video as when I set out, I originally had the idea in mind of using a transformer and then plugging it into the wall. However, that quickly changed as I got a little distracted from getting a heavy duty cable. I had to make some adjustments along the way. I basically cut out the part where I was a little bit confused, and then it kind of continues on and finishes up. So share your ideas or anything that you've came along the way, or if you got a better way of doing this, please feel free to share it in the comments below. Enjoy. Thanks for watching. Alright, so we're going to need a decent sized power cord. We want to make this as safe as possible. So I got an old power strip here that I'm just going to go ahead and well, actually, I don't even need to really tear this apart. All I really need to do is just cut this off. What I was originally going to do was drill this out, but we're just going to go ahead and cut this. Got a pair of cutters. So we're just going to cut this back like so. We got a ground wire and our positive and our negative. Cut the sheeting back a little bit. Like so. This cord's 15 foot long, so this gives us plenty of length to run it up through the frame of the swing and have a grounded plug. So we should be able to cut this. We'll leave that like that. We're just going to run this up through the frame of the thing, and then we'll finish cutting this back. But basically we'll take this sheeting back, and then we'll have our wires inside there. So on to the next step. This is our baby swing. Not sure. It's a My Little Lamb cradle and swing, and normally it takes 4 D batteries, and these things discharge quicker, and I'm just getting tired of buying them. So I had seen an instruction actually on this exact same model online. So 4 D batteries is equivalent to about 6 volts, and I'm not sure how much amperage that's going to be putting out, but I got basically a power supply that I don't use anymore. And looking at the thing, this one, it's AC input, meaning you plug this into your wall, and then output is 7.5 volts and 2.8 amps. So I was looking closer around 2 amps, and 7.5 volts is a little more than what the 4D batteries, but this is pretty close to what we need. I've already got this tore apart, but there's basically 4 screws here, and then there's screws underneath, and then this top basically comes off like this. There's a wiring harness holding that, and then this cradle comes out that holds the batteries. I went ahead and cut these. I noticed this resistor in line. I'm not sure what that's being used for, but I just went ahead and cut those there, and I'll put this back in here unused. And then I just temp installed this with some wire and ran this over to the outlet. And it does power up. So the swing, I had a different one earlier, and it was only 5 volts, and it was not putting out enough power or amperage to keep this top here was rotating, but the swing wasn't swinging, so there wasn't enough oomph there to get it going. So all the sounds sound normal. The swing's pushing it. All the functionality works just as if it was on battery power. So the next step we're going to get rid of this temp wiring install, because basically I want to set this up to where This cord can't get wrapped around my child's neck, or I want this completely out of the way so that it's as safe as possible. That's probably one reason why these don't come with a plug-in option, because of cord issues. So we have wood floors, so I'll probably go ahead and tape the cord down to the floor, and then it'll just get plugged into the wall. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started. What I'll probably do is the cable that we had removed from the power strip, we are basically going to run that up through here, and we'll just drill a hole right here, and this will come out up here, and then we'll terminate our wires and hook all that stuff up and then secure it so it's safe and out of the way. Probably go down around here since there's a lot of space here, and do it here, and then just zip tie that to the frame, and then we'll find a grounding spot. Probably just ground it to this the metal bars here with the green wire. And alright, so we got our hole drilled. So in at about, I don't know, I suppose about a 1/2 inch, and we're gonna feed this up through here like so. But we're also gonna have to cut a hole in our foot peg for our basically our wire to feed up in there, and then we'll just cut a little dome here so our cable can come out and be flush with the floor. So we'll go ahead and drill that hole out right there. That way our cable can feed up through there and basically be out of the way, and then we'll just run it on up, and we'll come back when that's done. Alright, so now we've put our hole right there so our cord can come out and feed into that hole all the way up. So we'll go ahead and get that done, and then we'll show you what that looks like. Alright, so we ran into a snag on the way in. So these little pins that basically release to let the legs come apart are going to be down in there. So you see our cable is coming up there. So what we're going to have to do is basically feed that past that point. As that comes out there, when we go to put this back in, it'll have to kind of squeeze in there with it and share the space. So this will have to be a little tight, but that'll basically push back down in there, and then your pin will come back out through this hole. So it'll be a little tight, so what you'll want to do is run your cable all the way the length that you're going to run it in, and then force that back down in there, so that cable will just be on the back side, and that won't affect the functionality of the button much. I mean, the cable will be behind it, so it'll have to push in a little harder to release, but probably won't be assembling or disassembling this very much. It'll always be together. So one way you could get around is if you used a little bit lower gauge, not as thick of a wire as I did. The reason why I'm using this is I want the power going to the unit. I want basically the power cable capable of carrying a big enough load, more than the device will even use. That way we don't have any overheating issues or using a lower gauge wire than the wire that we're going into. So it's more of a safety thing. So that's why I chose this one. It's pretty heavy duty, and it's going to be more than enough for our application. So, alright, we'll be back as soon as we get this fed through. There's going to be 2 of these on the way up, so I'll get it installed and then we'll be back. There, and that's going to be our little thing installed there. I don't know if you can see it down in there. Not enough light. But that's how that's going to look. So, and then they'll plug into here, and then we already ran it up to there, and we're going to have one more to get by up there, and we'll put that in and then we'll come back. Okay, so we got that ran to there. We made a little mouse hole down there. This helps if you do it in Mountain Dew pants too. Anyway, run that cable up through there, past that one there, and our little button still functions. I'm just going to come up through here, past this little dowel. Up here I made a hole and brought the cable out. So I'll continue pulling that. We'll hook that together and then we'll get on to hooking up the actual wiring. There is a way, I'm not going to go into it, but you could leave the battery pack in here and put this on a switched between outlet power and battery power if you wanted to, and put a switch back here. So if you wanted to basically roll up the cord and just use batteries, you could use one or the other by putting a switch here, but I'm not really going to go into that. But that is an option if you wanted to take this a step further and make it a little bit more versatile. But alright, so we got plenty of wire here, so we're going to cut our outer cover off. Be careful you don't cut yourself. And basically pull this back to expose our wires. And if you use the same cable, technically you could do this all the way down there and just run the cabling out. That would alleviate the issue with the push buttons being so tight. But we did not do that. This is going to expose our 3 wires we're going to need for hookup. Just want to be careful you don't cut the shielding on your wires underneath. Okay. So get a good enough grip on that, you might be able to just pull that apart without having to cut it all the way back. We're going to have to cut this as we go. Kind of help it along here. Alright, so we'll disconnect our temporary wiring here that we had going on. It's pretty ugly, but it's just for testing purposes. Make sure we had a power supply that was actually going to make this thing function before we did all this work, and then find out it does not work. Come back when we go ahead and hook these up. Positive here. So I had that backwards. And this is going to go, let's see, so your negative will go here, positive will go here, and then over here is basically going to be your red and black wire coming out to the unit. So we'll run this back up here and we'll terminate these here. And then these two here will basically crimp onto the respective wires. So let me go ahead and get that done, and then we'll come back. Sorry for that. I didn't expect to tear this apart like this. I didn't really want to go that route, but for now we'll just leave it that way and keep an eye on it. This may have to have its own housing. You might have to find some kind of housing to put that in if you choose to do it this way. If you don't want to go this route, what you would have to do is basically get a cord long enough that would run up through here to hook in, and then this would basically plug into the wall, and you could run it that way. It's just this cord isn't that long, so you'd be pretty well tethered to the wall. But if your unit stays in one spot in the house or whatever, it would work fine. So anyway, that's one little hurdle we got to go over here. Didn't expect it to go this way, but it's getting a little bit more technical than what we were going for. So anyway, we'll be back once I get this installed, and I'll show you how it turned out. What I'm going to end up doing is coming in here into the original battery box, and I had to take my transformer apart, and my basically output from the AC power, where there would be normally two prongs here plugging into the wall. These wires coming from the wall are going to supply power there, and then my output's going to come here, and I'm going to plug in right here, and then I'm going to ground. I already grounded it here to the frame. So I just had to make some slight adjustments, and I apologize. It's not the original design I was going for in my head when I first started this, but as with all my projects, they usually either work out or they don't. This one is still going to work out. It's just we had to make some different modifications. I don't suggest anybody try this at home. Consult an electrician, have them wire this up. I stuck some Velcro in here, so I'm basically going to protect this bottom that has all this circuitry, and I'm going to stick that to the I'm going to put a piece of Velcro across here, so that way none of this can short out. This is all plastic anyway, so there's nothing to short out, and it'd be protected, but just to give it some stability so it's not rattling around when the unit's moved around, I'm going to stick this right here. That way it's stuck in there, and then there's going to be a cover over this so I can access it if something's not working right or whatnot. So let me go ahead and I'm going to get these wires hooked up here, and then I'll get these hooked up here, and we'll put this top apart. We'll leave this back cover off, and then we'll go ahead and test and see if our unit works. Okay, a couple things I want to point out before, instead of cutting the video. One, these wires are pretty thin, so what I did is I cut quite a bit back so that I can have a little bit more wire to hold on to when I crimp this, so that way it doesn't back out or anything. The other thing is this is going to have a white stripe that's going to go to your positive lead, and this one will go to your negative, and that's also marked on the board. It's going to have a positive and negative on the board here, so you want to make sure you hook up the corresponding wire to the same wire, so black to black and white or red to red. Alright, so we got our wiring done. It's so we got our cable going there. And that runs up into the, got our little mouse hole there. Runs up here, out here. And we come down into our transformer. I installed some new wires, and then these are connections I soldered. So those go into the transformer as if there was two prongs going into the wall. Basically the wires coming off the two prongs where it goes to there, and they're positive and negative. And then it comes out here. This is our wire as if our outlet was plugged into the wall on the transformer, and then those go to the respective positive, negative. And testing. So we got a nice healthy cable there, and we got power. Volume works. And our little motor, send it back and forth. And there we go. No more batteries. So we'll put this back together. And yeah? You excited as I am? No more batteries. And we'll tie this back together and see how she works. Oh, are we swinging again? Huh? Yeah. Is it working again? Yay! No more batteries. Yeah. Yeah.